Welcome back everyone to another StarWarsUnlimited deck build, and look who's here, it's my mates. You know what that means, it's time to revisit the Wookiee deck. Set 3 has been here now for about a month and it's brought us a lot of really fun new cards, and well, it's also brought us a lot of fun new toys for this Wookiee deck. This Wookiee deck was a lot of fun before, but now with this updated new version, it's even more fun and well, it's stronger than ever. However, even though Set 3 has brought us all these nice new toys to the deck, it did also bring the droid units. So you may be worried about the droid attack on the Wookiees. Let me tell you right now, with these added toys into the Wookiee deck, we can fight off those droids and win some games. Very quickly, before we jump into the leader, the base, and well, the updated deck itself, if you enjoy StarWarsUnlimited content, make sure to like and subscribe because there's going to be loads more coming, especially a lot of new decks and some of my updated decks. I don't want you guys to miss out. Not just that, it really does help the channel out. So with that, let's get on to this deck. Kicking things off for this deck is the leader, and well, we had to go with Chewbacca. He is the main Wookiee himself, and well, if I didn't do it, then this guy, like last video, would have been annoyed with me. Chewbacca has got an action. It reads, play a unit that costs 3 or less from your hand and it gains Sentinel for this phase. That action is really important for how this deck likes to play. You may be wondering, why? How does this deck like to play? It likes to stall out your opposition to late game where you can suddenly play these big costing Wookiee units that just absolutely wipe the field and just put out so much damage and so much healing that the opposition just can't deal with it. So because of that, we just constantly need to be putting these walls in the way for the opposition to get over. So we play a load of units that cost 3 or less, so we can keep activating Chewbacca's ability to give us that Sentinel for them to try and hit over. When Chewbacca is deployed, he comes out on 7, so it's quite late. That's why we keep trying to stall out the opposition with his leader ability. He comes out with 2/9, Sentinel and Grit. For those who don't know what Grit does, every damage that's dealt to this card, he then gets it in attack. You'll quickly find he comes out, he takes a few hits, normally defeats a few units, and then he'll swing for their base for a good, normally 7 or 8 damage. Not just that, Chewbacca still pairs incredibly well with Tarful, and when you have both of these out in the field, it quickly wipes the entire opposition's ground units. You know how good this Tarful combo is from my last Wookiee video, but if not, we'll get into it later. And also, it all boils down to, well, it's a Wookiee deck, and like I said earlier, Chewbacca's the main Wookiee. We had to run in. For our base, we go Cunning for the sheer reason of there's so many Wookiee cards in Cunning that, like, we just had to. Also, because you like to stall and stall and stall, we kind of need the 30 health base, otherwise you're in trouble. So there's quite a few games I end up winning in this deck, where I'm on like 26, 27 health, but they just can't do any damage to me and I've just got full control of the board. So because of that, the 30 is kind of crucial. And with our base and our leader gone over, let's crack on to these ground units. Just remember, because of Chewie's ability, we need units that cost 3 or less. And for that reason, we play a lot of units that cost, well, 3 or less. Who do we have first? And that is a 2 cost, and that's 2 Leia Organas. Why? I think she's just so strong for this deck. The amount of plays you can do with this card to slow down the opposition is crazy. Why? Because when played, either ready a resource or exhaust a unit. I'm going to be honest with you, 99% of the time, you're going to exhaust a unit. Why is she so good? Well, because you can activate Chewie's ability, given her Sentinel, you can normally activate Chewie, playing her out, Sentineled, and then you can exhaust something on their side of the field. She's really nice to bring out when they play their leader, because you play her out, exhaust their leader, and then whatever else has to hit through her. For a 2 cost, she takes down 2 hits away from your base. 1 through the exhaust, 1 through the Sentinel. Moving on to our next ground unit is another 2 cost, and it's one of the first updated cards on this deck list. That is 2 of the new R2-D2s. He has taken the place of the Alpha R2. Why? Well, for a start, his stat line is just better. So you can play him out for a Sentinel with 4 health to attack for 2 resources, which is absurd, by the way. Not just that, his when played comes in beautiful. Why? Because when played, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, search the top 3 cards of your deck for a card and draw it. So you can play this turn 1 to set up your next turn, or what I like to do is normally on my 6th resource turn, I play him out, setting him up, looking for that Tarful, because you really want to play that Tarful out on the turn you play Chewbacca, and R2 lets you look for him. The reason I don't run 3 is because I found that discard from your hand is nice, don't get me wrong, it's really nice, but it wasn't always needed, so due to that, 2 is the perfect spot. Moving on to our next 2-cost unit, and another new one for the deck list, is 2 Kashyyyk Defenders. The only Wookiee card we got with set 3, which is so sad. Anyway, what does he do? So he's got grit, so all the damage that's done to him, then boosts up his attack. And when played, you can heal up to 2 damage from another unit and deal that damage to this unit. So more often than not, he's going to come out with 2 attack, 3 health. What I found with this card, you normally want to play him a little bit later when something's got damage, like maybe the R2 or one of your big units. Play it out, heal that a little bit, do the damage, lovely. But you don't really want to play him out like your turn 1, maybe your turn 2, because you normally sentinel him, it comes out with 0 attack, that means they normally just get a free hit. Yeah, it means next turn he can hit for a lot of damage, but I just found that wasn't optimal. Don't get me wrong, that can be quite nice, especially if they got a 4 attack unit on board, because meaning your next turn you've then got a 4 attack unit. When I first saw this card, I thought, oh, it's not that good, but in play, it's actually quite good. Don't sleep on it. And well, it's another Wookiee. We need more Wookiees for the Wookiee deck. And rounding up our 2-cost ground units is 3 Fugitive Wookiees. He's just a solid turn 1 player, and he's a 3/3 for 2. Lovely. The only card that comes close to that is, well, Battlefield Marine. The only thing you need to be careful of is his bounty, because when he is defeated, the opposition can exhaust one of your ground units. To be honest, he's just a solid turn 1 play, but if they don't deal with him, he can end up just doing a lot of chipping away damage with that free attack. Just please be very aware of this bounty. It can hurt you, but most of the time it doesn't, because you're just playing Sentinels out anyway. Moving on to our 3-cost ground units, we're going to start with 1 Tech. For a sheer reason of, well, he's got 5 health to attack, so you can Sentinel him with 5 health in turn 2, which is nice. But the reason Tech's in here is for, well, his smuggle ability. Being able to just smuggle any card out is so nice within this deck. Why? Because you like to play late game, you play a lot of high costing units, mainly Wookiee units. Because of that, you tend to get them in your starting hands, meaning you need to resource them. Tech is key to access all these high costing cards we've had to smuggle. Why? His ability reads, each friendly resource gains smuggle. The gained smuggle cost is that card's cost +2 and the aspect icons. I can't tell you how many times I've smuggled something out with Tech that has been so clutch for this deck. Maybe one of your removals, like Takedown. And moving on to our next 3-cost unit is an unbelievable upgrade for this deck with set 3, and that is Captain Typho. We want to run 2. Why? So, when played on attack, give a unit Sentinel for this phase. Why is that so good? Because Chewie's ability only works with units that cost 3 or less. So when you can play out Typho, you can end up Sentineling anything you control. You may be thinking, why is that so good? Because maybe you have Tarful out and you play Typho and you can give Tarful Sentinel. Absurdly good. Not just that. Another reason why Typho is insanely good is because you can activate Chewbacca, playing him out, giving him Sentinel. Then you can activate his when played ability, giving Sentinel to something in space. Meaning you can Sentinel both your zones with 1 play. Typho's insanely good. The reason we don't run 3 is because I found, because we've got so many units that cost 3 or less, when his ability doesn't come up that much. But when it does, let me tell you, it swings the game. It's so good. To make room for the 2 Typhos, we've had to drop one of our next cards, which I know some of you guys will be angry with because it's a solid Wookiee card, and that's Roshi Tree Tender. We're going to run 2 of them now instead of the 3. I know some of you out there love this card, but I just think it's alright. What is it? It's a 2/4 with grit. Normally, you're going to activate this guy, bring them out with Sentinel, meaning he's then going to get boosted up for attack for the next turn. He is nice, but I just found I'd much rather play out the other 3 resource cards. But yeah, he's nice, and well, he's a Wookiee, so he gets synergy with this deck. And moving on to our last 3 resource ground unit, is still my favourite from the original deck build, and that is 3 Liberated Slaves. This card is insanely strong, and the amount of value it gets you is absurd. Why? Why is this card so good? Well, it's got 3 attack, 5 health, and it only costs 3, so you can activate Chewie, giving it Sentinel. 3/5 Sentinel. That's not just good on your turn 2, it's good on your turn 3 and 4. Like, it's absurdly strong. Not just that, it has got the Wookiee key term. So what does that mean? It means let the Wookiee win can activate with this card. Such a strong card, and it's still one of my favourite cards within this deck. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to our 4 resource crown units. I've only got one, and it's the same one from the last deck, and that's 3 Wookiee Warriors. This card's got grit, and when played, if you control another Wookiee unit, just draw a card. He's one of the reasons this deck can well function and can well work, because it gives us synergy, meaning when he's played, we can just keep drawing a card. And like I said, because we want to get to the late game, being able to draw more and more cards, potentially see more and more of these high power cards that are going to potentially win us the game, is crucial. Because he's got that 5 health with the grit, you can be surprised as well how this guy can quickly become a big thorn in the opposition side. He can end up with 6 attack for 4 resources. Lovely! And because of Typho, you can actually end up Sentineling this card, which makes this card so much better than it previously was. We're now going to move on to our 5 cost ground units, and we've only got one, and it's the same from the last deck build, and that's 3 Chewbaccas. This guy is still very good. Why? Well, he's 3/6 with Sentinel, but when this unit is attacked, you can ready him. The amount of times you can get an extra attack with him is beautiful. Play him out, they hit him, boom, have another free attack. So good. Really, really like him. Solid, and he just, yet again, delays the game out for you. Moving on to our 6 cost ground units, we've got 1 Gentle Giant. So this guy, as you know from the last Wookiee video I made, he's okay. He can at times be very, very good, but most of the time, I'm going to be honest, he goes in the resource. But it's a Wookiee deck, so I had to get at least one of them in here. Why? So he's 2/8 with grit, meaning he can get up to 9 attack, which is absurd. On attack, he may heal damage from another unit equal to the damage on this unit. That is a nice ability. I just found for 6 cost, he's kind of like a win harder card rather than help you out card. And by win harder, I mean you're already winning, it just helps you win even more. With that being said, Captain Typho can make this card a big issue by giving it Sentinel. So it's an alright card. Typho does make it better, but not enough for me to up its numbers, unfortunately. Moving on to our next 6 cost unit, isn't a Wookiee card, so please forgive me, but he does fit the theme of, well, Sentinels and slowing up the opposition, and that's 2 Obi-Wan Kenobis. Why is he in here? Well, he's got Sentinel, like I said, matches the theme, and when defeated, give 2 experience tokens to another friendly unit. If it's a force unit, draw a card. I can tell you now, that'll never be a force unit within this deck, but the experience tokens are still huge. Normally, you're going to play them out, well, in your 6 resource turn, meaning the next turn, you've got Chewbacca and Tarful coming out. If they don't defeat Obi-Wan that turn, you can end up giving 2 experience tokens to Tarful. He then becomes a 5/11 with Restore 2 and his crazy ability. That is like game breaking. Or maybe you can give those experience tokens to your Chewbacca, meaning he becomes a 4/11 with Grit and Sentinel. Like, Obi-Wan just gives this deck that little bit more oomph it needed. So that's our 6 cost units done. Let's move on to the 7 costs, and well, you know what's coming. I've spoiled him tons of times. That's 3 Tarful's, quite possibly the best card within your deck. Why? Well, he's 3/9 with Restore 2, which is already really, really good, but his ability is just so strong. Like, I can't explain to you how good it is. Why? When a friendly Wookiee unit is dealt combat damage and isn't defeated, that unit deals that much damage to any ground unit. It's just so good. Like, I've had people so many times like pick Tarful and go, what? That's what he does? Read it again. And like, oh, brilliant. So if you have these 2 out, it's like your best combo. Because normally they hit into Chewbacca, doing, I don't know, like 4 damage to him. Chewbacca survives, then Tarful's ability kicks in, meaning you can do another 4 damage to any ground unit they control. Pfft. These 2 single-handedly just clear out ground units, like, for fun. Once you play these 2 down together, you more often than not will get control of the ground. With the new additions to this deck, such as the Obi-Wan, giving him experience tokens, and Typho, giving him Sentinel, like, he's just so much better. Because this guy reads friendly Wookiee unit, not other friendly Wookiee, so that means it also works with him. Like, I love this card so much. Like, you have to run him within this deck. I don't care if you've got 1 copy, 2 copies, run Tarful. Like, you have to. And rounding up our ground units as well, you guys know what's coming within a Wookiee deck. It had to be in here. It's 2 Chewbacca Pikesbane. This card is a 4/10 with grit, meaning you can get him up to, in theory, 13 attack. And when played, you may defeat a unit with 5 less remaining HP. So it's a nice bit of removal instantly when he comes out. Do you know what else makes him so much better? We've got Typho in this deck, meaning you can give him Sentinel as well. Give him Sentinel with Tarful. Good night, the opposition. I just found this updated ground unit list is just so much stronger. Not just that, it actually gives you more utility and more plays rather than just Chewbacca, play. Chewbacca ability, play. It actually means you can set things up, combo things, and it's just all round better. With that being done, let's move on to these space units. Kicking things off with these space units is free, Restored Arc 170s. I just love this card. It's a 2 cost, so you can activate Chewbacca's ability, meaning giving out Sentinel, and it's just a 2/3 with Restore 1. You'll be surprised how much healing that card can get in. Moving on to our 3 cost space units, and that is 2 Concord Dawn Interceptors. It doesn't get the combo with Chewbacca, but I just found it's just solid Sentinel to have. So 1/4, but when this unit is defending, it gets +2, essentially making it a 3/4 for 3 cost. It normally takes 2 to 3 hits before being defeated, and it tends to take down whatever with it. So yeah, solid card, it's nice. I don't play it all the time, but when you do play those decks that like to go space, this card is beautiful. Okay, we're now going to move on to our 4 cost space units, and the first change within our space, that is 2 Razor Quests. Some of you may be surprised by the inclusion of this, but he's got a really important part to play. First of all, 4 cost, 3/4 of Restore 2, which is nice, so you can keep healing. So in space, you can see for our Restored Arcs and this, you can get a lot of healing in. And when played, you may return an upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. You may be thinking, why is that when played so good? Because in this upgraded deck, we run Shadowed Intentions and Perilous Position. With the Razor Quest, we can keep adding those back to our hand to then keep using. Essentially, through running 2 of these, it gives you another 2 Perilous Positions, which is such a good card from the new set. Even if you don't have any upgrades in the discard pile, still having this in space, healing away, is very nice. And because of the 4 health, it's a bit chunky. They have to really think about how they're going to take it out. And rounding up our space units is the same as last time, is an 8 cost, and as a redemption. 6/9 with Sentinel, and when played, heal up to 8 total damage from any number of units or bases, then deal that damage to this unit. You normally play it out, 8 damage to this, 8 healing from your base. Like, it just lets us live a bit longer. Like I said, cause we're a late game deck, we want to try and just keep healing, boom, have all these big Wookiees, deal with it. And this 8 healing is absurdly good. Not just that, maybe you don't activate it and it's just a 6/9 Sentinel. Have fun getting through that. So that's our space units done. Why don't we crack on with these events and upgrades? We're going to kick things off with 2, Let the Wookiee Win. I did have 3, but I just found 3 a little bit too much because you're just getting it all the time in your hand, you didn't need it, but 2 was beautiful. Why? An opponent chooses 1. You can ready up to 6 resources, or you ready a friendly unit. If it's a Wookiee unit, attack with it, it gets +2 for this attack. More often than not, you're going to play this out on like your 6 resources turn, and they've got to think, are they going to play out an Obi-Wan or a Gentle Giant, or shall I let them attack with a Wookiee for another 5 or 6 damage into my base? Not just that, be able to play this out when you've got your Tarful or even your Chewbacca leader, like the amount of damage it can get in. I love it, absolutely love it. I hear people say this card's not very good, but they just clearly haven't run a Wookiee deck. It's really good. Moving on to our next 2 cost event upgrade, it's actually 2 Guardian of the Way. What does this card do? So you can give a unit Sentinel for this phase. If you have initiative, give it +2/+2. You may be thinking, why? Why have you got this with Chewie's ability? So there's a few reasons why I quite like it. Number 1 is maybe turn 1 you've got an R2 out. Turn 2, you can activate this, making the R2 a 4/6 Sentinel. Have fun getting through that. Or, which I used to do more often than not, is this is the card you end up giving in to your Wookiee Warriors, or maybe your Tarful, or your Gentle Giant. It just gives you those options to Sentinel these bigger units. This plus Typho basically just gives you 4 options to Sentinel other things. Not just that, if you give it to something that's already got Sentinel, you're essentially just giving it +2/+2 for this phase. I just found this card really nice within the deck, and something that surprised me of how strong it is. I was originally trying out I Have the High Ground, and I just found it just didn't work within this deck. Because I have the high ground, you need your unit to already have Sentinel, then you play it out. But I found you activate Chewbacca, play your unit, then activate out the high ground. By that time, we've normally attacked, so it didn't really work. But yeah, this is just better all round for this deck. Moving on to a free cost, we've got 1 Shadowed Intentions. Why? So attached unit gains, this unit can't be captured, defeated, or returned to its owner's hand by enemy card abilities. This card, you're just basically applying it to Chewbacca leader. One thing this deck really struggles against is control, because Rivals Fall or Vanquish or anything like that just basically shuts your deck down. So being able to just give your big units this basically says the only way you can defeat me is by attacking me. This card is part of the reason this deck is now so much better, because it did really struggle against those control matchups. Moving on to our next free cost event or upgrade is 2 Perilous Position. If you've seen my last video, you just know how much I love this card. Why? So it's a free cost upgrade that says, when played, exhaust the attached unit and give it -2/-2. This card just slows down so many decks and just shuts off so many leaders the turn that comes out. Not just that, it can out the Lurking TIE Phantoms, which can be a real pain for this deck. Really strong card. That, the Razor Quest can keep adding back to hand. So essentially, with the Razor Quest, you've got 4 of these within your deck. Moving on to our 4 costs, we've got 2 Takedowns. Bit of removal for you. Defeat a unit with 5 or less remaining HP. We're running blue, we need to slow it down. Takedown, as you know, is just such a good card. Just removing something is lovely. Not just that, with your Sentinel ability, you can normally chip away at their health, meaning the 5 HP isn't really an issue. And like I said in my last video, Perilous Position and Takedown combo really nicely. Because maybe they play out a big unit, activate this, get it below 5 HP, Takedown to, well, take it down. Moving on to our next 4 cost is, well, technically a 6 cost, and that's 2 Vigilance. Why is it a 6 cost? Because it's double blue, so you have to pay the Aspect Icon penalty. I did originally remove this card from this deck, but it's just too good. I had to add it in. Why? Because choose 2 in any order. Discard 6 cards from your opponent's deck, heal 5 damage to your base, defeat a unit 3 less remaining HP, give a shield token to a unit. It's just so good, and it fits this deck beautifully. Because, like I said, we're waiting it out. Healing 5 and defeating a unit is just stupidly good. And not just that, you can give one, like, your Chewbacca a shield. Like, it's so good. And our final event and upgrade is 1 Rivals Fall. It's a staple for every blue deck, just defeat a unit. If they play something out a little bit too big, a leader that's annoying, just boom, have this, see you later. This, ironically, is the card that this deck really struggles against. Okay, so that's our main deck done. Move on to the side deck. Start things off, we've got 1 L3, because this card survives from the last deck, which is a 2 cost. When played, you may rescue a captured unit. If you don't give it a shield token, it's just basically something you can Sentinel and have shield, which is nice. Next is we've actually got 2 Entrenched. Because we've got the Razor Quest, adding cards back to hand, this is actually a really strong option within the deck. For 2 reasons. 1, you can bump up your own Wookiees, so you can maybe give Chewbacca it, meaning he then becomes a 5/12. Or, which I'm used for most of the time, is you give it to their units so they can't attack your base. We've then got another Shadowed Intentions. This is for when you play the more control decks and you need this, like, you have to play this card. If you're running a control deck, you have to run multiple of these, or you're just going to straight up going to lose, because they'll just defeat your Chewbacca as soon as he comes out. Then got 2 Making Openings. It's basically Perilous Position, but with healing. We then got 2 Waylays. Why Waylay? So Waylay is actually really important for this deck, for the sheer reason of you can target your own units. So 2 things I really like doing. One is bouncing my Typho back to hand, so I can then play him back out, giving his Sentinel again. Or you can bounce back your Kashyyyk Defender, then you can play him back out, healing again from your base. I mean, you can essentially get 4 healing off 1 Defender in 1 turn. And also, it's just a nice bit of disruption on their side of the field. They play out a big unit, win it back to hand. And rounding up our side deck is 2 Vanquish, just more removal. That's just all it is. They're just playing things that are defeating you too quickly. Boom, Vanquish, see you later. Here is the full deck list for those who want it. And, well, what about the matchups? So, a couple of things. I've mentioned it multiple times throughout the video. You need to be really careful against control decks. Control just hard counters you. Because you wait for the late game, you play out your big Wookiees, boom, Rivals Fall, see you later. Boom, Vanquish, boom, Takedown. Like, it really hurts. When you play aggression, happy days for you, because, well, just here's infinite Sentinels, have fun getting through them. Mid-range is very 50-50, it can go either way. All in all, this is a really fun, off-meta themed deck that I just personally I really enjoy. It can do well, don't get me wrong. There's some decks that just can't deal with it. The constant Sentinels and then big Wookiees, they just hate. But then you will get some games against, I don't know, like a boss control where they just keep bouncing all your big Wookiees and you're just like, brilliant, I lose. But yeah, really fun deck. Let me know in the comments what you think about the deck, any changes you may make, and well, what should I build next? What other decks should I go for? Or maybe some old decks that I should rebuild. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one as much as me, because, like I said, I really like this. It's a personal favourite, the Wookiee deck, and I'm going to revisit it each and every set. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and hopefully I shall see you in the next one.